The reason that this stuck for me was because I saw the power that it had to bring families around the table. And for me, that was so healing because I felt like that was something that I lost, that I grew up with these beautiful memories of my family around the table, bringing people together to celebrate our Jewish heritage through food. Obviously, my brother died, Al Kadesh Hashem. He died for his Jewishness. So the fact that I'm able to use my platform and my books to literally do just that, like bring people around the table to celebrate our Jewish holidays. Like, I have people message me like from Zimbabwe, I made challah for the first time. Like I made Rosh Hashanah dinner, like using your, like there's no words for how fulfilling that is, like on such a deep level.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we have a very special guest joining us, Chanie Apfelbaum, the brilliant mind behind Busy in Brooklyn. Chanie is one of the most popular Jewish chefs out there with hundreds of thousands of followers on social media who adore her creative and delicious recipes. But beyond her culinary success, Chanie has an incredibly inspiring story. She's faced significant challenges, including the tragic loss of her brother in a terrorist attack in New York City. Despite these hardships, she continues to run her thriving business while being a devoted single mom. And we actually explored that too. And to make this conversation even more exciting, my lovely wife, Gita, is joining us. She's the queen of food in our house and is just as excited as I am to talk with Chanie today. So stay tuned for an amazing discussion about resilience, passion, and of course, some fantastic food tips. You will hear how Culinary is keeping us looking sharp and comfortable, how BitBean is providing the best software solutions. You'll also hear about the OU's Nach Yomi program for those wanting to deepen their Torah learning. Also, the incredible new book by Feldheim and the 20% off that you will get. The book is Toras Imecha, and you will love it. This episode is in memory of Miriam Sarbas Yaakov Moshe, as well as Shimon David ben Shlomo Yaakov. Here we go. I'm Yaakov Langer, and you're listening to Inspiration for the Nation. First off, thank you to Gita, my wife, my partner in life, and now partner in podcasting for this episode, for being here. How uncomfortable are you from 1 to 10?
No, I'm doing good. This is my second, what do they call it, rodeo?
Yes. I thought you were going to be like, second podcast. I'm like, oh my gosh, need to find the replacement podcast partner.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Okay. And thank you, Busy in Brooklyn, which is probably how you're referred to by most people. No?
Yeah, some people just call me Busy.
But the people who know you, what do they call you?
Who know? Chanie.
Chanie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to call you like Mrs. Busy.
Okay.
Miss Brooklyn.
Miss Brooklyn. Okay. That makes sense also. Okay, so my wife has actually been pushing me to have you on for a while because she's a big fan.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a long time.
I'm more awkward like right now, not because like I'm on the show, but because like I'm a little starstruck, you know?
I always say, I'm just me. That's it.
That's very nice. Okay, so there's a lot of things to talk about, and we're going to get to your latest cookbook and obviously your entire Instagram history and path. But I want to start off with, obviously a very difficult part of your life is your brother, Olav Shalom.
Okay. We're starting right there.
I think let's start there,
okay.
And then we'll get more fun as time progresses.
Okay.
But I guess if you give
I was going to start with like, where's your inspiration for how'd you get into cooking?
Right.
You know what?
Did you grow up in the kitchen?
I actually think it's very appropriate because I always say that kind of like, that's really what got me into food, and I'll explain. And for those that don't know the story, so my brother, Ari Halberstam, many people, you drive by the ramp on the Brooklyn Bridge. He was killed 30 years ago. This year was the 30th yard site in a terrorist attack, a revenge attack for the Hebron massacre that happened in Hebron a few days earlier. And his killer was targeting the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the Rebbe went into the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. They closed it off. He couldn't continue, made a U-turn onto the ramp to the bridge, saw a van full of boys, 15 boys in the van. And he said he saw Hasids and they were on top of each other. And shot 40 rounds of ammunition, and my brother Ari was the sole casualty. And a few of the boys, were injured. One pretty badly, but he survived. Still has a bullet in his brain. And Ari lived for 5 days on life support and then passed away. And was actually recently his yard site. And I always say, especially now with what's going on in Israel, for me, I went on an influencer mission in December. And when it was 1994, no one ever heard of terrorism. For sure, I grew up in an insular community in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. I never heard of a machine gun in my life. I was 13 years old. This is not something that we ever dealt with. For sure, not terrorism. The only act of terrorism was the first World Trade Center bombing in 1993, I think it was, or 1992, and it just wasn't on the radar. So it's not like there's no one in this country really that I could relate to who went through something like this. But when I go to Israel, I feel like so connected because these people really get it, and it's my story. And it is very, very painful because my family experienced the pain. We still do. It's something you carry for the rest of your life. And like, it really, really gets to me. And it was a very, very, very painful trip. It was hard to get over. I'm like literally just coming back to myself after it. So I internalize the pain because I understand the broader picture of not like, okay, you lost someone in a very tragic way, but like how it affects your whole family and your whole future and everything. So we grew up on the block of 770 Eastern Parkway, and we had like such an open home. Like, you know, everyone used to come to us because they used to go to the rabbi for dollars, for farbringans, for, you know, kosher bracha, and like everyone used to stop into our house. My mother used to make huge meals. Like we were the house to go to. Like I have the most beautiful memories growing up, like the Seder table, the sukkah. Like I always felt like our sukkah was like the Beis HaMikdash. Like it just expanded to fit. It was a tiny little sukkah, but everyone fit in there, and everyone used to come in and make l'chaim, and it was just like the most beautiful way to grow up. And obviously after my brother died, it was like the lights closed. Like, you know, like my mother was dealing with, both my parents were going to court, and at first they called it just an act of road rage. That it, you know, and my mother fought for 7 years, the FBI, till they reclassified it and admitted to say that this was an act of terrorism. And my mother still, like, she's an expert, has become an expert on terrorism. She's a commissioner in the New York City Police Department. She's very, very involved politically, and it obviously changed our life's path so much. Like my mom was a stay-at-home mom before, volunteered for the mikvah. Like it was just like our cozy little home, you know, and everything changed. And everyone, you know, everything changes about your, you know, the whole fabric of your family and each person individually and your family structure as a, you know, as a whole. And, you know, a big part of, I mean, I always feel like my brother Ari kind of like gifted me this journey because, like, first of all, anyone that knows me growing up, like I never stepped foot in the kitchen before I got married. Like did not. My older sister always helped with making dinner. I was like, I'll wash the dishes. Just please do not make me cook because I'm a creative. Like I'm not, I always thought like cooking is, you know, you have to follow a recipe. It's scientific. There's a lot of rules. I'm not a rule follower.
I was going to ask because you have to have some creativity in you.
I'm very creative
to do what you do.
So yeah, I'm like, especially the way that I cook, which is totally out of the box and like, so was never interested in the kitchen. And so the whole idea, like this is what I do for a living now, and my whole path, the way that it just so not according to nature, I always feel like was kind of like Ari sending it my way because it was a way of really using all of my talents. I'm a writer. I'm very, very creative, and I got into obviously did all my own photography. So I'm a food photographer now. I was able to use all my different talents to create this, you know, which was first just a hobby. So for me, like, I think when I started, and I'll tell you one story that was like really life-changing for me. So I started my blog in 2011. It just had its bar mitzvah. And I've always been a person that picked up this hobby, that hobby. I used to crochet and scrapbook and all these type of but nothing ever stuck. Like I would do it. I would buy every single tool and every single, you know, thing to do it, but never kept it up. But, you know, the reason that this stuck for me was because I saw the power that it had to bring families around the table. And for me, that was so healing because I felt like that was something that I lost, that I grew up with these beautiful memories of my family around the table, bringing people together to celebrate our Jewish heritage through food. Obviously, my brother died, Al Kadesh Hashem. He died for his Jewishness. So the fact that I'm able to use my platform and my books to literally do just that, like bring people around the table to celebrate our Jewish holidays. Like I have people message me like from Zimbabwe, I made challah for the first time. Like I made Rosh Hashanah dinner, like using your book. Like there's no words for how fulfilling that is, like on such a deep level. It's like, you know,
all of your books are dedicated to him, right?
Not like officially. I mean, my first book I did the official dedication.
Has an official dedication because I remember reading it and
So the story I was going to say before, so I, you know, it was like the early days of my blog, maybe 2 years into starting my blog. And I did this recipe for chili pie in jars, which was like, it was like for the 9 days. So it was like a vegetarian chili, a layer of cheddar cheese and cornbread, all baked into like a mason jar in the oven. You could put mason jars in the oven if you can't shock those type of jars because with temperature shock, they could explode. But if you like warm it, you could, just so you know, you could put mason jars in the oven.
You gotta be able to put them.
You could what?
Well, technically I'm saying like you can boil them. So I guess.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
For canning and stuff.
Right.
Exactly. So I did this recipe, and this is like before the days of smartphones. If you want to send someone a picture, like there's no Instagram yet. Okay, there's only Facebook. You want to send someone a picture, you have to like take out your digital camera, take a picture, put the SD card in your computer, and send them an email.
Right.
Okay, that's what it was. It feels like everything like time is. Things have changed so progressively and so
through
fast.
the air, you know.
Right.
But that's how it was back then. And someone sent me a picture of her whole family sitting around the table, and everyone's holding their own mason jar of their own chili pie, like everyone around the table. And I was like, wow, like how powerful is this medium? Like, look what I can do here. And that was like literally a changing moment of my life that I was like, I don't ever want to stop doing this. This is like beautiful. And yeah, so like ever since, obviously started with a blog and then was like, I only so much, like people can't print out, you have to print out the recipes, but like let them have a cookbook on the shelf of mine. So there was my first cookbook and my second.
You're like skipping so many parts.
I know. We'll get into more details, I guess. But and obviously Instagram's a very big thing.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so to ask that question, I really I've always felt like, Ari is at the core of like everything I do, because really, and also part of like a lot of what I do on Instagram is like, I really want, and this for me happened because I grew up Lubavitch. I grew up like, I always thought Chabad is the best. Like I always say, thank you, Hashem. I grew up Chabad. We're so open-minded. But like at the end of the day, I thought I was so open-minded, but then like through my travels around the world, because I do like demonstrations, all, different JCCs, federations, different, all over the world, thank God. I've met so many different types of communities, so many different types of Jews from like all different walks of life, so many interesting people. And I just really feel like all Jews are one family. And like a lot of times, there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of, especially in food, even in kashrus, right? Like some people consider this kosher, or a lot of people don't eat this kind of vegetable if they don't check it, or this or that, or the hashkachas and everything like that. And I'm very much like, this is a community here. We respect everyone. I love everyone. I love every Jew. Every Jew has a soul, and every Jew, like, that's it. A Jew is a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. And like, I feel like anyone that follows me should really pick up that feeling. We're all here. We're all celebrating our Jewishness through food. Whatever level of kosher, no judgment. And if you don't keep kosher at all, no judgment.
Beyond that, like your books, I mean, you published with a non-Jewish publisher, and now you're like really out there.
Yeah. And also to show people, which is so important, like kosher is not limiting, and there's so much you could do with kosher. Like, thank God I've had a few people start to keep kosher after following me. Wow. Like someone was in medical school, she told me, and she was like, yeah, she started following me. She's like, even though like it was hard, she's like, yeah, she started keeping kosher. So like, I mean, I don't feel like, I'm not here to make people do that, but I'm definitely here to show people like it's super accessible and super doable. And everyone, the level that they choose to keep is all good by me. I respect everyone. So
I want to get more into the why
that was a very long answer.
No, it was great. It was a great answer. And honestly, the best guests make us
we
talk
don't need
less.
to talk.
Yeah, we're not here to talk. It's
right.
for you.
Okay.
I want to get into Busy in Brooklyn, but I do want to ask one more question about your brother, Alav Shalom.
Yeah.
How old were you at that time?
I was 13. He was 16, the oldest.
Uh-huh.
The oldest of 5. And, he was 6 feet tall. 6 feet tall. And I totally, obviously, remember him 13 years old. He was just like such a fun big brother, like a big jokester, always like pranking me. I was the middle child, so it happened to me a lot. Like literally woke up with shaving cream like on my hands, or set my alarm clock to wake up in the middle of the night and run to the door, and I was like dark outside. He literally, that's what. But he loved sports. Like everyone on the block would come play in our front yard where our sukkah, that magical sukkah that we had was. Everyone, like, he was play acrobats in camp. Like he was just like star of every court that he played on. And, but at the same time, he had like this really like, he was very, very serious about his Yiddishkeit, and like would never go to sleep without saying Rambam, and would like ask me to do Davin, my rib, and like was very, very, very staunchly, strong about his learning. And, we also grew up in the Rebbe's house, because my father worked for the Lubavitch Rebbe's wife as a mashamash and in their house for 18 years. And they never had children, as many people know. So Ari was really like a surrogate child to them. Like, we used to go over on Fridays to spend time with the Rebbetzin and just sit and hang out with her. But because he was the oldest, he would go every single week because he would like be able to cross us the streets. And the rest of my siblings and I would take turns. And, but like she would pick him up and take him to the park. She would send him packages to camp. Like, when she passed away, the Rebbe gave Ari her sitter. Like they really were very, very close. And Ari was like very humble about it. He didn't like, he didn't want to tell his friends when they asked him in camp, where did the candy come from? And he was, even though he was young, he understood that it was a privilege. And I think that, in the bigger picture, we obviously don't understand Hashem's ways, but the fact that he ended up taking the bullet for the Rebbe is not a coincidence. He literally grew up on the Rebbe's knee. The Rebbe kissed him on his forehead.
What did the Rebbe say when it happened?
The Rebbe had already had a stroke, his second stroke.
So hold on. Okay. I mean, he was alive though. So they were trying to kill the Rebbe in his...
The Rebbe was having cataract surgery in the hospital in Manhattan. And everyone went to go daven there. To go say Tehillim while the Rebbe was having surgery. So that's why they were there.
Got it.
And so
that's how they knew that they were.
There was like a hotline that you could call that would say, what's going on, which is obviously how they knew that this was happening.
I'm going to sound like such a snag.
Okay.
If I haven't already, was the Rebbetzin alive?
No.
No, she passed away before.
Right.
Okay.
And she died in the late 80s.
Not Chabad, so I don't know, but it's no wrong question.
So this is 1994. She died in the late 80s.
Got it. Okay.
And so they all went to go daven, and he waited outside the hospital. And then I missed that part of when I said the story really kind of quickly before. But yeah, so, to me, he was just my big brother, but I had I revered him. He was like, the ultimate. But he was very protective and but the big brother holds, he really carries the family. And obviously it was like a huge, huge, we were all, my sister was 1 year older than me. My brother's 1 year younger than me. And then I have a younger brother who was 3 at the time.
Yep.
So yeah.
Let's get now to the more fun stuff.
Okay.
We'll be right back to this week's episodes. But first, are you on a hunt for a book that will inspire and uplift the women in your life? Look no further than Feldheim's latest release, Toras Imecha by Malka Weissman. This beautifully crafted volume introduces us to 25 contemporary Nashim Tzidkaniyos, righteous women who truly embody the virtues and values we cherish. Toras Imecha is a treasure trove of heartfelt wisdom and inspiration. Just this past week, my wife was flipping through and she was ensconced in this book. It is brilliant. Each chapter offers brief biographical sketches, captivating photos, and noble deeds that highlight the extraordinary lives of these inspirational women. Accompanied by 22 stunning full-color oil portraits, this book not only tells their stories, but also inspires sterling midos, modesty, and character. Perfect for women of all ages, Toras Imecha provides wise counsel, comfort, hope, and encouragement. Its pages are brimming with warmth and wisdom, echoing the sacred teachings of our Imahos. You'll find yourself returning to this book time and time again, discovering new insights with each read. Don't miss out on this chance to enrich your life and the lives of those you love. Toras Imecha is available now and makes a perfect gift for your wife and anyone special in your life. To be honest, I found myself flipping through it. Visit your local Jewish bookstore to get your copy today. Or if you love promo codes like us, use the code word INSPIRE on feldheim.com for 20% off. Guys, I got this from my wife and she loves it. Trust me, get it and thank me later. Again, use the code word INSPIRE for $20 off and go change the lives of your family with this incredible book. Now, something we get a lot of comments about is we wish there was more out there for women, and the OU has heard you loud and clear. Are you looking for a impactful daily learning that you can do in just 15 minutes a day? You can finish the complete cycle of Nach, yes, 742 prakim, from the very beginning to the end in just 2 years. You'll be able to listen to talented women, educators, hear their timeless words come alive, and be inspired by these messages today. I encourage you to be part of the OU Women's Initiative Nach Yomi community of thousands of women worldwide. It's not too late to join the third cycle of Nach Yomi. Start receiving daily emails with shirim from inspiring educators. You can find the podcast on the Toras Imecha app, of course, and on WhatsApp, Spotify, Apple Podcasts 24/6, and even by phone. With just a few minutes a day, Nach Yomi brings the timeless wisdom of Nach into our everyday lives, making Nach accessible and meaningful. Start your journey today. Go to ouwomen.org/Nach to learn more and join the community. Of course, you'll be able to click the link in the show notes. The OU Women's Initiative is here for you with Torah learning, leadership, development, and community engagement. To learn more about the OU Women's Initiative and how to get involved, please visit ouwomen.org. Ladies, this is your opportunity to really tap into the wisdom and beauty of the Torah. Click the link below to get involved today. Now back to this week's episode.
So you mentioned that you did not grow up in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Your sisters did the cooking. So I want to know kind of what was your first experience like getting into the kitchen? Like what made you go into the kitchen?
Getting married.
Oh, okay.
It's a rite of passage. And the Jewish, if you're Jewish and you're from and you have to make Shabbos, what are you going to do? So,
That's when I got into cooking.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
Okay.
I got into my cooking when I was in seminary because they didn't give us food.
Oh, really? Okay. We had good food. And that's how I fell in love with like Israeli. I went to seminary in Israel. So like shakshuka and like all those really
So you were into food though before you stepped foot
I
in the
wasn't
kitchen?
a foodie. No.
Oh, okay.
No, I wasn't. I like, I always say people eat to live or they live to eat. Like, you know, yeah.
You ate to live.
Then, but now I live to eat. Yeah. So basically, I got married.
Yeah.
And Fridays used to come, and I'd call my mom and be like, "How do I make all the traditional food?" And she would give me her recipes. I wasn't an especially good cook or especially bad cook. Like I could follow a recipe.
Yeah.
I remember batching up kind of several desserts. Like I decided to make candy apples one year for Purim. It was a disaster. So
Which
I was
sounds
really
like it should be
never
the simplest thing.
I was never
but
into
like-
dessert. Like really not. And still like. Obviously, because this is what I do, I have to learn it, but like it's much more scientific and like I don't enjoy it as much. And you would understand.
I did the pastry thing for a little bit.
So I would start hosting a lot and like people would always ask me for my recipes. Oh my gosh, this is so nice. And I was like, what is it? Like, why? So I realized like I really had a knack for presentation. Like I really was into like plating the food beautifully because I'm just like, I've always been visual like that and very good with, that type of stuff.
You always had an artistic side.
For sure.
You always had a creative side. Like that was from when you were young.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, wow, okay, like this is interesting. Like food is not, it could be fun. Like it could be a way for me to express myself creatively and artistically. So I kind of started getting a little bit into it and I started like watching the Food Network like after work when, there was, now it's just like a bunch of game shows, but it was actually like really good stuff on there back then.
Pioneer Woman.
Yeah, Pioneer Woman. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I always, when I started, there was like Pioneer Woman, Smitten Kitchen, like no one else. There were no blogs. Now there's like literally probably 1 trillion blogs on the web.
I mean, in the kosher world, you are like the OG food blogger.
Yeah. A few of my friends started around the same time as me. Melinda Strauss, Miriam Pascal. Around the same time we started blogs. But we've never actually compared who was the first. I might have been the first. But yeah, so I started getting into that, and then I subscribed to some food magazines, and I started following the few blogs that were on the web, and kind of started getting into it more like, okay, this is something.
You saw that there are people out there that are using this as an art form.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then I actually took like a photography course with Mendel Myers Photography. He's a wedding photographer, but like in Borough Park, he was giving classes on how to use your like digital SLR. And like I was shooting, when I had just started my blog, I was shooting like in automatic mode, which is like the worst. You have no control over the camera. Like on my kitchen island under like yellow lights. I didn't understand that you're supposed to shoot by natural light, by the window, all that stuff. So he was just teaching us like how to understand the settings of your camera, how to get out of automatic mode. And like, it was like maybe 2 Sundays or whatever. So I was like, wow. So at first, like I was learning the settings of the camera, and then I started like moving everything over to the window and like just kind of like starting to understand, light and all that. Because, part of really having a blog is really photos.
Yes.
Having beautiful photos is really important. It's a little too much because you sometimes
you're scrolling down and you're like,
I get so annoyed.
I grew up
and I never did that. I hated that. Like I don't want to make someone scroll down for like a half an hour until they find the rest.
For sure.
And I heard that even Google is like penalizing websites for that now.
Really?
Like, yeah, I heard that.
But I thought it was like all about like ads and stuff. Like
it evolved. The whole industry evolved.
But back then it was just people. Yeah.
So that was the photography, and then as far as food, so I was doing like a lot of the Hamish recipes I grew up with. Actually, the first recipe ever on my blog is a Jamie Geller recipe from her cookbook that I adapted. Because obviously, like, who's to think? And now I'm a cookbook author, right? 2-time cookbook author, which the whole thing is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But then I remember, like, I did like gefilte fish 3 ways, like on a platter.
Gefilte fish pizza. Like, I mean, it doesn't get cooler than that,
Yeah.
So
it sounds weird to the people out there listening. It is
Try
not
it.
pizza. It's just like a giant gefilte fish latke covered with
like you could mold gefilte fish in how you want it to be molded.
Yes. Funny story about that, actually. I did a demo in Antwerp, Belgium. 800 ladies, Yiddish speaking. Like, I had a translator. And I made my sushi nachos, which is like one of the most popular recipes for my first cookbook, Millennial Kosher. And one of the ladies raised her hand and asked if she could make like mold gefilte fish cubes, like in a tray, and use it instead of the raw tuna in the nachos.
How creative is that?
Yeah. But
That
like
is
that's
so cool.
like
ice cube trays, like small cube.
Yeah, make like little cubes. Because I think they're very new to the raw fish, But I'm
Right.
all about introducing new flavors and new things to people that have never, had it before. That's my whole thing. Like, I want people to go out of their comfort zone, go out of their box.
Yeah.
But that happened, like, that evolved. So basically, had my blog, was doing a lot of the traditional stuff, and then I decided to go to kosher culinary school to really kind of refine my skills in the kitchen and really so back then, now it's closed, but there was one on Coney Island Avenue, Happy Home, upstairs. And for me, what it did really, it wasn't even about the skills. What it changed for me was completely opened up my palate and my mind. So I grew up, eating Hungarian, Ashkenazi cuisine. Like, I always say, my mother thinks sugar is a seasoning, not a sweetener. Oh, it doesn't have enough flavor, put more sugar. Yeah, I always say, for Ashkenazim, it's paprika and garlic powder. For Sephardim, it's cinnamon and allspice, So I never really, my mother didn't use a lot of fresh herbs growing up. She didn't, it was like my palate was so limited. And I went in with the mentality, whatever is out there, I'm going to try, even if I think I don't like it. Like, I hated cilantro, but if something has, I have to try everything. And what that did for me is it just blew my mind open. And I tried all these amazing dishes. And a lot of what you do in culinary school is you have all these, you learn about different types of cuisine. So we did Indian food, and we did dal, and we did pad thai, and I didn't like ginger, but the pad thai we had we made this spicy sauce, tons of cilantro, tons of ginger, and
totally
at the end of the day, it was the most mind-blowing, amazing dish. Even though if I pull apart the components, I didn't necessarily love every ingredient, which showed me that you have to give food a chance, and you have to be willing to go out of the box, and you will just so that literally changed the path of my whole career and my blog.
Because we keep kosher, when we travel, we don't get to really try the local foods.
I always say that. That's the downside.
Exactly. It's very, very hard. That's something that's been hard for me. I imagine it's doubly hard for you.
Yeah.
So when you can cook those things at home, that's a huge thing. And when you can bring that to the From Kitchen, and you can teach other, kosher cooks how to do that, that's an incredible thing. You're opening up flavors that they would never try outside of the home because they can't.
Right.
So that's incredible.
Yeah, totally.
So
that really changed the trajectory of everything that I was doing, because once I started learning about all these different types of cultural and ethnic foods, I started to put my own spin on traditional Jewish foods and do something fun with it, right? So one of the first things I did was poutine latkes, where I took potato latkes. You guys know what poutine is?
Yes,
I literally
of course. Oh my
was in
gosh, I
Toronto
dream
this
about
weekend,
poutine.
so I just had it.
Yeah. It's,
But
it's French.
I had
For
it
those who don't know,
once
you
in
explain that.
Toronto.
National dish of Quebec, and it's French fries smothered in gravy and cheese curds. So I took, instead of the French fries, potato latkes, made a Parmesan gravy. So the difficulty in making a dairy gravy is you can't use beef stock where all that umami flavor is. So I built a flavorful gravy that was dairy, and then I put Parmesan rind in there and some soy sauce. And you can't really get
Parmesan
your hand on
rind, underrated ingredient.
Yeah.
In soups. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, for sure.
Tangent.
So, and we can't really get cheese curd, so I use mozzarella. Any case, fast forward, I ended up making it for the Wall Street Journal. They came to my house, made the latkes for them from scratch. And then
This
like
was when was this?
what year?
Like this was
What time of day was it?
At what point in your journey? Like at what point in your career? Like this was before the
It
cookbook?
was the
This
year
was,
that I
like-
had gone to culinary school. That
Okay,
same year.
okay,
So
okay.
like I don't know, maybe I would say 2016, maybe
Okay, so this was
something
like
around there.
like before the cookbook.
Yeah, before any
everything.
cookbooks,
Okay.
exactly. And then from there, went on. Someone who on Meredith Vieira's show was like, oh, I saw you in the Wall Street and you want to come on make latkes on our show. So like, then all of a sudden I was like, okay, like being recognized kind of in mainstream media for what I was doing. But like, I'm very competitive. So what was happening was like all the bloggers were like, the Hollies would come and it was like, who's going to make the coolest, spin on a donut. And it kind of became like a real challenge for me. Like I have to think like really outside the box, which is like literally what I love to do. Like, let me come up with something so creative that no one ever thought of. And for me, I always like to say that about my recipes, like they're not Googleable. There's enough cookbooks out there that have potato coquelin and all the other things that you
Pulled
have.
beef and like
Right.
totally. 100%.
I want to have something that you turn your page and you're like, wait, how did she think of that? Like
you're the
how?
first person that convinced me to put anchovies on my Caesar dressing.
Oh, yay. Funny story, because when Millennial Kosher came out, so someone told me that she sent her husband to the store. It was Erev Shavuos, okay? So like everyone wants to make Caesar salad.
Right.
And he was like, he asked someone for anchovies, and the guy that worked in the store is like, what is going on? All these men are coming in asking for anchovies. Like, what's happening? Oh, your new cookbook came out. Blah, blah, blah. And the local guy that sold like red snapper, because I have a whole roasted red snapper in the book, also was like, everyone's coming in asking for whole snapper. So like,
That is so
really,
funny.
that was, I think Millennial Kosher really, really changed the face of kosher cooking in that it brought like fresh, new, different, completely out of the box recipes, new spices. Like now with Totally Kosher, it's already, Millennial Kosher came out in 2019. So it's, quite a number of years. Everyone already heard of sriracha. They heard of a lot of the ingredients. But like, I remember I went shopping for my kids in Williamsburg, and the guy, that owned the store, he's like, I just want to thank you. You introduced my family to sriracha, and we put it on everything. And for me, like, that is what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
You know why? Because
Like let's
as
move
a-
past onion soup mix. Like
yes, I don't, there's no onion soup mix and no onion soup mix and no margarine in any of my books.
amazing.
Like, I'm about building, first of all, figuring out like how to get around the dairy meat problem in a healthier way. Like I'm totally, also part of the reason I'm against margarine is because in culinary school, it was a meat kitchen. And in order to learn anything dairy, we had to make it parve. So like we had these huge blocks of margarine, and like, I could never look at margarine again. As like,
You're like,
yeah.
get that partially
No,
hydrogenated
oh my God.
stuff
It's
away from
actually
me.
molecularly equivalent to plastic. And you would know this.
I don't want to bring any of my food science.
Yeah, so like I don't use margarine ever. Coconut oil. Big fan of coconut
Yeah,
oil.
and they have so many different like innovations now with
Nut
like
milks
solidified.
and
Yeah, even just with like
Nut
butter replacements.
Yeah, butter
with,
replacements.
Betterine
Yeah,
and
betterine's coconut oil based.
Yeah, and it's like just a little bit chemically like modified, and then you get like
And
it's
for the
very
cooks out there,
interesting.
a little tip about coconut oil, because a lot of people don't want to use it because they don't want the coconut flavor, is that just like olive oil comes in extra virgin olive oil and refined olive oil, just in the same way you can buy virgin coconut oil and expeller pressed or refined coconut oil. So if you buy the expeller pressed coconut oil, they heat it, strain out all the coconut particles, and all you're left with is the fat of the coconut butter, but no flavor of coconut, zero.
And to me, it tastes like butter. I put it in my challah.
Oh yeah, no way.
I put coconut oil in my challah, and it gives it a buttery flavor.
Wow. And it's
yeah,
like
I can't say I make challah every week.
and it's solid at room temperature, so it's a really great replacement for butter.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
great.
just look for refined coconut oil. I don't know. I lost myself. I don't know what
No,
we were
it's
saying.
fine.
Yeah,
You know,
let's-
sometimes I'm
Tangents.
worried also that like
that I'm going too
No, that
tangenty with
someone-
like the
No, that a guest is going to say something. I'm like, oh, someone already said that. No one ever said this stuff. So don't worry. You're the first guest to say this on Inspiration for the Nation.
Yeah.
No, it's going great so far. We'll be right back to this week's episode. And this episode it's a lot of range. There's a lot of emotion here. And there's some fun parts and also some serious parts. But I want to share something amazing with you. If you're looking for a way to transform your organization, company, or brand, you need to know about Brimming, the best software company out there. Brimming doesn't just offer software. They deliver results that make a real difference. Picture this. A local nonprofit was having a tough time attracting volunteers and raising funds. Their old system and manual process were slowing them down, and they found Brimming. Brimming created a custom software solution that totally changed the game for them. Within 6 months, they had 50% more volunteers and doubled their donations. Brimming's platform is super user-friendly, making it easy for volunteers to sign up. BitBean created a platform for them that is super user-friendly, making it easy for volunteers to sign up, track their hours, and stay engaged. They even automated their fundraising tools that took the hassle out of donor outreach, making it a breeze to manage campaigns and track contributions. Plus, the platform they built gave them real-time analytics. The organization could make smart decisions to get the most out of their efforts. And it's not just nonprofits that benefit from BitBean services. They are perfect for companies and brands looking to take their mission to the next level. Don't let outdated systems hold you back. With BitBean's cutting-edge software, you can reach new levels of efficiency, engagement, and growth. Their team is like none other. Many organizations, companies, and brands have already experienced the BitBean difference, and you can too. Reach out to BitBean today and take the first step towards a brighter future. That's bitbean.com. Tell them your friends at Living L'Chaim sent you. You will not regret it. Now, you all know how much I love Culinary. I'm even wearing one of their ear sweaters now. I've talked about them before, but today I want to share a personal story about how their ear suit saved me from a really uncomfortable Shabbos. Last week, I was dreading a particularly hot Shabbos and an outdoor Kiddush to attend, and the thought of wearing a traditional suit in the heat was unbearable. Thankfully, I had my Culinary ear suit. It's the most breathable suit in the world, and it kept me cool and comfortable all day long. I didn't have to worry about sweating and feeling confined. It was a total game changer. The air suit is designed with advanced breathable fabric, so you get maximum comfort without sacrificing style. Whether you are heading to a formal event or just need something sharp for Shabbos, this suit is perfect. It's lightweight, stylish, and feels amazing to wear. And here's a special treat for my listeners. You can get $18 off your air suit purchase with the code word INSPIRE on Culinary.com. Don't miss out on the fantastic offer. Trust me, once you try Culinary, you'll never want to wear anything else. Head over to Culinary.com and experience the difference today. Now back to this week's episode. I want to get more, I know we're going to talk more about this, but I do want to pause on this to talk, I guess, a little more about your family life.
Okay.
That I'm just, again, I don't want to get too personal because it's honestly none of my business or the audience's business, but like it's out there that you got divorced and you have 5 children.
Yes.
Could you talk about your, I guess, experience and what life is like? Just I guess being so out there, and then someone who goes through a divorce in their own personal life because they're an accountant. Okay, it is what it is. Right. You're out there, so I'm sure it adds a extra struggle and challenge.
It was so public.
Yeah. It was very, very, very hard for me when I wasn't really ready to say anything. And I know it's not like I wanted to make an announcement, but at the same time, it was like everyone follows you on social media. They kind of know your routine and what you're cooking for Friday. And then I was like, maybe not with my kids for a Shabbos, and they were, with their father. And it was like, how am I going to, I felt like I was carrying this like heavy, heavy burden and the secret. So like, it was like really, really hard to navigate. And also still wanting to have my own privacy. I always say, I never chose this life, like living a public Instagram life. I'm just super, super passionate about what I do, in the food world. And obviously Instagram stories like changed everything. And at the same time, I feel like, if Hashem put me in this position, it's important to share certain things. If I feel like I can inspire, I can help, whether if it's through a life journey or through food. I do have a lot of life experience. I've been through a lot in my life. And I've worked through it. It's not just that I've been through it, but I've actually worked through my challenges and did a lot of inner work to be a healthy person. So it was definitely difficult. It was also the year of COVID, and I got very, very, very sick with COVID. And it was like, it really, really challenged everything. First of all, it just, I said earlier how important for me was like having that family structure back, making a Shabbos table, having the family unit was like literally for me, like what gave me comfort from what I had lost growing up, and was like everything I lived for, literally. So, to lose that in a sense was like the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And I always say it's like getting divorced because from society, however way you cut it, at the end of the day, the way that our society is, it's a family-centric religion. Everything revolves around the family unit. And if you don't have that, that regular family, it's just, there's no, where do you put yourself?
Where do you fall? Like,
right. And I say it's like literally someone dropped you in the middle of the forest in some crazy exotic jungle in the world and said, find your way back home. That's what it felt like.
And you come off as the type of person that doesn't necessarily like to ask for help or
Totally not.
or like, you know, like you sound very independent, very strong,
Very hard
you know,
for me to ask for
right.
help. Yeah.
So that's, you know, even more hard.
Right, for sure. I learned.
Right.
I learned because, you know, so what can I say? It took a lot of time. It took time. You know, they always say time heals. I don't necessarily believe that time heals, but I feel like you get used to it, you figure it out. It's a journey every day. I feel that like life, there's no such thing as healing from anything. Did you heal from your brother? Are you over it? No, it's like a life journey. Life is a journey. Right. Life is about the ups and downs. And, you know, even if you can do some kind of, I'm very into somatic healing and you know, all
What's
different.
that? What's somatic healing?
It's working through like deep emotions and traumas, but through the body. And
like a lot of energy work.
Energy work, very into energy work, energy healing. And out of the box things, even open to, you know, psychedelics that now everyone's talking about. Rabbi Jacobson just spoke about it on a live that we did also.
We're going to do a whole episode on That's an Issue because we're hearing a lot of, well, no, everyone knows.
Yeah.
It's a lot of noise going on.
Yeah,
with that,
a lot of noise going on. But I'm saying I'm a person who's open to, I actually don't believe in talk therapy. I think it's a waste of money. Like, if I need to talk to somebody, I could call my family member or my friend. I'm not going to like pay someone to just listen to me. Like I actually want to do the work. How do we get to the root of where this pain is coming from? And how can I work past it to you know, it doesn't impact me negatively in my life.
And it's so connected, the mind and the body, and it's so physical, and we don't necessarily treat that physical part of our
Dr.
trauma.
Sarna and that whole mind-body connection. I definitely believe in that a lot, and that you deal with that a lot when you work with, you know, with energy work. So I'm working, you know, I'm a work in progress. Everybody is or should be. You know, the healing journey continues. And I constantly, you know, I have good days and bad days. I have challenges, and I really just try to have like a very positive house. I feel like I grew up like my mother always had Jewish music playing in the house. That's why I'm like obsessed with Jewish music. Like a kumzitz for me is like a hug to my neshama. I love it. I go to every kumzitz that I can.
Who's your favorite singer?
I love MBD.
Okay. Cool.
I really love
MBD. If you're listening to this, please come on the show. I've been trying for 5 years. Okay.
Oh really?
Yeah. He's a very private person.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think also because like he was about tshuva himself, and he had a journey, and like his songs have a lot of meaning. He also has a lot of English songs, because sometimes you sing the Hebrew songs and you don't even understand the words that you're saying.
Right.
So that's nice. So I love music, and like just like having a healthy home and also a happy home, and not having my kids feel like we're any different. You know, like having a beautiful Shabbos table, even if there's no husband at the table, is important to me. I always make the most beautiful Yontif tablescapes, all that. I can't say I host all the time. It's tiring. I'm a single mom. I'm working, so I would like to do it more, but I definitely try and, you know, create an atmosphere like you're just like everyone else. But there are times that me personally, I feel like that isn't the case. And there are challenges being divorced from society, for sure.
Do you think it's like becoming less of a stigma? Like, you know,
I don't think it's even a stigma at all.
It's
anymore.
not a stigma.
It's
right.
not. It's not.
Not at all.
For sure not. I don't think of it as a stigma. It's more that like, I think that also through my platform, what I sometimes, you know, try to have people like realize, like recently I posted a picture that never made it into my cookbook that I had taken, which was meaningful to me, and I wanted to put in there, but then decided not to, was like making Kiddush, like me making Kiddush. I just don't want it to come across like, oh, like me being like, oh, modern, I want to be the female, whatever. It wasn't about that for me. It was like, kind of like this silent message to single moms, like, but the moment of making Kiddush for me is like very, very painful. Like, it's like a reminder that I don't have that nuclear family, and it's, you know, it's I'm always like kind of crying inside.
Very powerful though. Like it was very, very powerful.
So I actually posted the picture on Instagram.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how much feedback I got. Like
positive.
Yeah, very, very positive. Okay, extremely. Just people feeling like, and also like no one ever realized. No, you don't. If you're not living that life, you don't realize like what that is like for a single mom, that moment of making Kiddush that you just take for granted that your husband's making Kiddush on Shabbos, right? So like people were like thankful that it opened their eyes to that for a moment, you know? So I think it's important for people to realize, or, you know, it will make them more compassionate towards their neighbor who's a single mom. Maybe they'll invite them over for, you know, for Shabbos or whatever it is. So bringing a little bit of that awareness is important to me within our society, because there could be more support. There definitely could be. I mean, there's an amazing, amazing organization called My Extended Family. That's in many different, they have many different.
My Son and Family?
My Extended Family.
My Extended Family.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And she's from Muncie,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Chanie
Apfelbaum.
Yeah.
Did you have her on the show?
Not yet, but we've been like the same like tangoing with you for the past year. So
okay,
they're
they're amazing.
Yeah.
I actually went to her for Shabbos once with my family, but yeah, she started it because she was a single mom herself, and she saw that I was lacking. And it is an amazing organization. They have after school programs. They have during the holidays for kids and all things like that. And we're part of it. My kids go, but there definitely could be more. It could be done in communities, you know, and privately and personally for a single mom. So it's important for me to bring a little bit of that awareness.
Do you feel held back, like now that you're a single mom and you have your own business, that you can't do the things that you really want to do?
Not at all. I'm like so into like not being limited at all, making your dreams come true. I travel by myself. I think like in the frum society, it's very much like when people are, even older singles, forget about divorced people, they think like they can't start living until they got married. Like I'll travel with my husband, and I don't know when that's going to happen for me, or, you know, so like, no, I literally like this summer I went, I hosted actually a trip in Italy. Actually,
I want to hear all about your travels. I'm like here for it.
So travel has become a big part of what I do, just because I get brought out to different places, and I've always like been filled with wanderlust. Like I've always wanted to travel in my life, so that the fact that this brought me that opportunity, I'm like so thankful for it. And because I have a community on Instagram, like I could literally write, okay, I'm looking to go to Prague. Anyone that lives there, like within 1 minute, I will have the rabbit sit. Like no joke.
Incredible.
I will have the best connections, which is such a blessing. Like last year, Sukkot, I planned a whole trip not Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, to Budapest with a few singles and another single mom, and because I wanted to go to Karastir to Reb Shaila, and it was just like magical. We went to all the shoals, and to daven in those places was like really, really, really special.
And solo, I'm saying you went with them, but I'm saying you.
And also, there's also pain there. Like I remember, like being in the shul on Rosh Hashanah, like in beautiful, beautiful shul, and I literally just like cried out for my neshama. It was like a moment of like, I'm here in Budapest, but I don't have my children with me, and it was like I was overwhelmed with like emotion. And this old lady, who's like all her family died in the Holocaust, she just came over to me in the shul and like gave me a hug, and she's like, I lost my whole family. It's gonna be okay, whatever. But like, it doesn't come without those struggles. Like if you ever travel with other single moms, everyone kind of has that moment where they like fall apart for a minute and then they're fine. But I'm very much like, my thing is like, if I'm not with my kids for Chag, like I don't want to be with someone else's kids. I'm not going to go be at someone else's state. Like I don't have my kids this Pesach because we alternate. So like, I don't want to be at someone else's Seder table with their kids. It's not fair, right? So I'll travel somewhere and I'll go to a cool Chabad house.
This is probably going to be put out after Pesach. Where are you going for Pesach?
I'm going for the first half to Tulum, Mexico, with a friend.
Wow.
And the second half, I'm working in Atlanta at Pesach in the Southeast, Bruce Backman's program. Amazing, amazing program. He really knows how to run. I've worked with him before, and he really runs an amazing program. So I'm working on that program. But so like I've gone to like really cool places. 2 years ago, so last year I had my kids. The year before I went to, I always wanted to go to Prague my whole life, because when I was 17, I worked as an intern for the U.S. District Attorney's Office, because like I told you, my mom's very politically active and she has all these connections. So she got me an internship before I went to seminary.
Did you want to be in politics? Did you want to be like
zero.
Okay.
No, because I had so much of it growing up, I was not interested at all. So before I went to seminary, it was like a way to make some money, in the summer. And I worked with my friend. It was a lot of fun. We would like go to the courthouse, get documents for the lawyers and all that stuff. So every day we would eat lunch. Of course, we're 17 years old. So lunch for us was like deli chips. Shout out to my friend Dina. Deli chips, the jalapeno ones.
With the
red
neon
bag
sign on it, of course.
The red bag, the spicy ones, and a peach or a raspberry Snapple. And we would sit right outside the courthouse on this park bench. And one day this guy was walking. He used to walk by like a lot actually, and he sat down near us and he was like, "If you ever go anywhere in the world, you have to go to Prague. It's the most magical city." And for some reason, it always stayed with
if
me.
he's watching this.
So I was like, I have to go.
Wow.
So anyway, I had off, and I was
influential.
like I had a little bit of time before Yontif started, so I was like trying to figure out what I should do, and I think I was posting on Instagram. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Prague, but like, where am I going from there? So this this follower of mine, I didn't know her at all. She is actually a Rebbitzin in Berlin, which is pretty close. You just take a train ride close by, and she was like, "Come to us for Pesach." And I don't know her. She's like, "I promise I'm normal. Like I'm a Rebbitzin here for many, many years."
Okay.
And so
only like in this nation could you just
and she's like, "Call me on WhatsApp and like we'll video chat," and like she shows me her house and where I would stay and everything. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it.
Wow.
And I went to her, and this was right by the start of the Ukrainian war, and we had so many refugees come to the Seder table and actually say their story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, like how they ran away.
Wow.
And were able to save their lives. It was so emotional and beautiful. So like I am so about like riding the wave of this journey and like where is it going to take me and being able to have like anyway. So that experience in Joel Spinner's house, shout out to them, amazing people, was like really like I think the first time that I kind of did something crazy like that, like just like but I'm all about that like.
It just takes one time, and then now you're out there. Yeah, you're
just like experiencing life and see where it takes me, and being open to opportunities and being flexible, and like also pushing myself out of my own comfort zone. So like I was saying, this past summer, I hosted a food tour in Italy, and we had a 2-week vacation. Like that, my ex-husband had the kids for 2 weeks, so I had another week in Italy, and I was like, I'm already here. I always wanted to do the south of Italy. Like I'm just gonna stay.
When you say you did a food tour, you like had like who did you host? You hosted just
a bunch of people came on, and then we went to different. We went to.
She's getting ideas to go to the next thing. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
so excited.
So the amazing thing about like being an influencer is like, so I travel myself, but like a lot of people know me, and like kind of a lot of opportunities open themselves up.
There's a community. You have a community,
right? So you never quite know where it's going to come from. So I went from, when we ended the tour in Florence, and then I went to Tuscany because I always wanted to try out this winery. The year before I had gone to Cantina Giuliano in Tuscany, amazing winery. This one I want to try the other one, which is called Terra di Sera. And so I was there myself, and then this like wonderful group of ladies were there celebrating a birthday from Brooklyn or Long Island, I think actually they were.
Oh my gosh.
And they knew me, and they're like, "Come join us and come sit with us." And so like you never know when these things are going to happen. And then I went and I did the Amalfi Coast, which I always dreamt of doing. And I'm like, I'm already here, let me do it. Which was like going to Prague by myself for 3 days, that was fine. But like that was a little bit of a harder trip. It's just like physically a difficult trip because Amalfi Coast is on a mountain. It's very mountainous. You're just like boiling hot, over 100 degrees, and like figuring everything out kind of myself. It wasn't the easiest. And I even got in a car accident there. And it was just it was a lot. And I was like feeling a little bit of that. Like I'm alone in the world, like in the middle of nowhere, especially after that accident. And I was, we were going into Shabbos, and I stayed in Praiano, which is one of the very small towns on the Amalfi Coast. You probably heard of Positano or Amalfi, the bigger, more splashy ones. It's very, very expensive. So like I couldn't afford to stay there. So I stayed in Praiano. It's a very, very small town. And I'm just like, kind of calling out to Hashem from like my neshama, like Shabbos is coming. It's like, what am I going to do it's a long summer, right? It's like a long Shabbos. Yeah. I'm by myself, and I get a DM from a follower, and she's like, "Hi, I'm here from Chicago." The Steins, shout out to them, amazing people. So they're there from Chicago, and they're staying in Praiano. Like, who would have thought, right? And they're
like jump out of an airplane anywhere and just be
she's like, because she knew I was like in Italy, but she's like, "Where are you? Like, maybe we're near each other. Like, maybe we could eat together on Shabbos." And like, she had all this Romanian salami with her.
Oh my
God. Anyway, she sends me her location, and she's legit like 30 feet from me.
No.
Yes. Anyway, so she's like, "Okay, let's go meet for a drink." So we went to meet at the local bar, and then we ate Shabbos meal together. And we ended up going on Friday to Ravello, which is the most beautiful, magical place. And I probably wouldn't have made it there because her husband was figuring out like we missed the bus, and he found like whatever. So like I really feel like Hashem kind of like I was by myself, but Hashem was holding my hand. And I feel like if you really like dig deep into that space, like you're not alone. Like Hashem, I felt like that story was from Hashem. Like I always call them like a wink from Hashem, you know, like you're not alone. I'm watching you, you know?
Yeah.
And we're lucky that we have that. And I also feel like as being Jewish, like we always have a family, no matter where we go. We always have a family. There's always a shliach you can reach out to. There's always that, you know? So like it's really...
Chabad, like is unbelievable.
But Instagram, like the world becomes so small. Every time I post something, there's someone in the background. Oh, I babysat him when he was 9 years old. Or I don't know. There's like the funniest things. I've had so many stories over the years. Like I wish I like somehow like really documented them because it's like magical. In 5 minutes, I'm like, you know, I remember I was on a plane to Israel and I featured someone and someone's like, oh, that's my brother and within an hour I'd met the whole family. You know, like everyone's messaging me from all different places. Yeah. So like. It is amazing, you know, how we're all like connected.
I bought something from like an eBay seller, like, and it turns out that he's like the rabbi at the army base and whatever. And it was just like, how on earth did this like come to be? And it's just, and then of course, like now he's part of the family, you know? So
that's awesome.
That's coming for Shabbos.
But going back to Italy, and I'll just say this quick story because also to me, it's like inspiring. And this is inspiration for the nation. So, you know, I signed my book with Clarkson Potter and Imprint and Penguin Random House, totally kosher. Shout out, guys.
Let's show it.
Pull it up for the...
And just look at that ramen, which is out. Who do we show? Which camera?
I don't know which
it's
camera.
A corned beef ramen.
Our editor's going to figure out which one.
We're obsessed with ramen, so it's very...
You have to try it. It's so good.
Yeah.
So what I do with that is I cook the corned beef.
Okay.
And then I use you always spill out that water. I use that water as the base for the broth. So it's really flavorful.
See, this is why your mind, it's just that creativity.
And it has all that collagen. It has all the collagen.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, your first cookbook, which came out, you said in 2019, is definitely a staple in our home. This one is like a lot more recent.
Yeah.
And the first one with the art scroll is amazing. And then this one, it's global. You use, you know, Potter, which is huge.
It's Imprint of Penguin Random House.
And I like how you always use the word kosher in your titles. Yeah. Like it's very like, this is what I'm about. Like, I love that.
So I signed my contract in 2019. That was the year I got divorced, the year of COVID, and 2019, 2020, really. It was a very rough year. And I always say, like, the secret ingredient is love in the kitchen and really being able to, like, write recipes and do food writing for a living and recipe development. Like, you really have to be in a good place. Well, I always tell people, when you make your challah at the end of the week, don't punch all your aggravation and all your negative energy into your challah. Put your love into your challah and it will rise so much better. Like really, I really believe in that. And you just, it comes from being like, you have to be in a good place for your food to taste good, you know? And especially you're developing new recipes and like, I just was very uninspired. I lost my taste, my sense of taste and smell for 2 months.
Wow. Oh my God.
And even when it came back, it wasn't fully. So it was all like very, very challenging. And I was like, I signed with this huge publisher. It's a dream that anyone would want. Like, how am I going to write this book? I don't know. I asked for an extension. And then that summer was the first time I went to Italy with a friend. And it was like my first trip where I really traveled like on my own as a single, you know, whatever. And it really, really like, it just opened my mind to like the beautiful world that Hashem made. The produce in Italy was like incredible. The restaurants, I was just like, wow. And it really, really gave me like what I needed to write it. It gave me that like everything. And I got back and I was just
Italy.
Like,
wow.
I mean, if you're looking for inspiration, that's the place to go. But like, it inspired me like on a deep level and on so many levels, even like going to the beautiful shows, even on, you know, on a level of Yiddishkeit. So this summer when I came back, my book was actually in the synagogue in Rome, in the synagogue in Florence, and in the synagogue in Siena. And like walking in there and like seeing this beautiful book that was like, I had gone through like such a challenging time in my life that broke my soul. And like, I persevered and I created something so, so beautiful that I'm so proud of. Like that moment where I held the book there in that place that gave me what I needed, it was like the most magical thing. Like I can't even put it into words. It was like so, so special.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like absolutely amazing.
That's really
so you can get this book like all over the world.
And anyone watching, definitely go on to, is there a website to buy that? We have a link there, but where's the best place to buy it online?
Well, you can get it anywhere. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Barnes & Nobles. You can get it anywhere.
All the legit places.
Yeah, all the places.
Do you have a
book
favorite
depository if you live
it's like asking you who's your favorite kid. Well, first of all, who's your favorite kid? No, do you have a favorite recipe?
I do say, I always, by the way, that is my joke to everyone that asks me what's my favorite recipe. Can you have a favorite child? But then I'm like, you kind of could have a favorite child.
Gosh. Oh gosh!
You just can't tell anyone who.
But the recipes won't be upset if you say the other recipes. And
my favorite recipe in this book, and we actually touched on this earlier, is my pad chai.
Oh, I love
which
that.
Which is a Middle Eastern spin on pad thai, which I spoke about earlier because it was inspired by that dish that really like
when you were in culinary school.
Yeah, that like really just blew my mind and opened my eyes to all the different flavors, and ingredients. And so it's a Middle Eastern spin on pad thai, and I use like harissa instead of like sambal olek or silan as the sweetener in there. Lots of lime juice, tamarind paste. It's like sweet, sour, salty. All the like hits every point on your palate. It's colorful. It's a one dish meal. I just feel like it really for me, it's kind of like. It's really about what I'm about, which is putting color on the table. I always say, like, all Jewish food is brown when you think about it, right? Gefilte fish is brown. Matzo ball soup, they're also soggy and mushy. Matzo ball soup, brisket, like potato kugel, like all those traditional foods. And there's a reason that Jewish food has a stereotype.
Right.
And for being heavy and for being brown, because it is. And I'm really all about changing that. Like, I have a miso matzo ball soup with scallion matzo balls in this book. The thing that is different about this book from my first book is I did put it in a tradition chapter because over the years on Instagram, I always got messages from people like, how do I make the best potato kugel? How do I make the best chicken soup? So I did do a short tradition chapter with traditional recipes because I feel like people really, really want that.
Right.
But in general, really my, the way that I cook is really outside the box, bringing lots of flavor, lots of color and
healthful, really like, you're using like real ingredients.
Yes.
Like touching back on like,
exactly.
chicken soup mix.
Exactly. So I definitely try to use, healthier ingredients.
This cover is making me so hungry because we're big. I credit Gita to like, I don't know, you were the first person to introduce ramen and like put on my status and everyone, I don't know what year was this.
I love ramen so much. I think it's my favorite.
It was like, I
think we need a kosher
2017.
ramen place,
there used to be one.
I know. But like,
shout out to Boru Boru. That disappeared.
Where did you go?
I know.
I need a casual one. Just like literally like, just a run in, get me a cup of noodles and run out. Like, that's what I want. If anyone's in the restaurant, industry.
Right? I wish.
Before we get to like the end questions of the interview.
Yeah.
Let's hypothetically, what if a husband came to you and he's like, married guy, and he's like, I have a wife, I love her. And I wish she made more challah for Shabbos.
Okay.
Let's call him, I don't know, Yaakov, and he does podcast. What would you advise to him? I'm just hypothetical.
You wish your wife made more challah for Shabbos?
Yeah, she's great at cooking and baking.
So actually, my challah recipe won an award.
Okay.
On the website, The Kitchen.
Well, this is a very hypothetical. Anyone who listens knows I always ask a hypothetical question.
They do side-by-side recipe comparison. So they'll take like the top very famous chefs, like top 4 lasagnas, test them side by side, and pick a winner. So they did this with challah, 4 challah recipes. One of them was mine, and I won best challah.
Amazing. Okay.
So my challah recipe is so easy because it's a one bowl recipe. No mixer, no fancy anything. It's one bowl.
I like that.
Okay.
And
you're gonna clean the bowl after.
I have people literally tell me like, I've been making challah for 40 years, and I switched to your recipe, and I'm never going back.
It's one of those things that, of course, I'm sure the complicated recipes are delicious, but it's very hard to do that week after week. And you're doing so many other things.
So let me say, my first cookbook, Millennial Kosher, I did like a 5-pound challah, so you can make a bracha on it. Not everybody can make 5 pounds of challah every week. So in Totally Kosher, I call it world peace challah because it's a shalom bayis challah. It's the pull apart. So the recipe makes one pull apart. That's it. And it's like, you want to have that homemade challah feel. You want to make that. You don't want like, you don't need require a lot of ingredients.
You don't want your whole entire house to be challah.
Right. And it's worth it because if you do it that way, you can freeze like half.
Right. Or
more than half, and
that's
then
how I would do it. Yeah.
But I get it. Okay. Even with my award-winning challah recipe, I will say that I don't make challah every week at all. So this one is so easy, and it's every little bowl gets another topping. So you put everyone else's favorites.
That's why it's called shalom bayis challah.
Yes. That's the reason. And I was like, I'm going to think bigger, so I called it world peace challah. But
thank you very much for that answer to that hypothetical question. Okay, so we have a few questions that we like to ask at the very end. If there's one person from history that you could sit down with, who would it be? If you had anyone.
Let me just say, I hate those kind of questions.
Yeah, me too. I hate answering those, but I like asking it.
You know what? For me, it's like, I don't know if
would never
you're
have an
expecting
answer.
like some big, like,
I want your answer. I don't care.
A big, sorry, may know or whatever. I actually would like to meet like my great grandparents and hear about how they grew up and how they raised my grandparents. And like, I'm very into family. Actually, my great grandmother, and I found this out after Millennial Kosher came out. So her husband was a makabel, and he was a very big tzaddik. My brother Ari's named after him. And he would be learning all day. So to support the family, she used to make homemade pasta and preserved lemons that she sold. She was known around town for her preserved lemons. And my first recipe in my first cookbook is preserved lemons without me knowing the story.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
That is crazy.
That's unreal.
Yeah. So it just shows the power of like family and where we come from, even when we don't know it. And I would love to just meet them and get, my grandfather, Rabbi Paratakht, he was, Allah Shalom, he was a really, really special guy. And he was one of 6 brothers, all very, very, very special holy people. And the Frierdiker Rebbe compared them to the Shisha Shadei Mishnah. And I would love to meet my great grandmother and hear about what it was like to raise 6 sons. You know, like for me, that's who I would want to meet.
That's beautiful.
And also Anthony Bourdain.
Good mixture.
Yeah.
All of shalom.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, Geet, do you want to ask her about her favorite mitzvah?
What's your favorite mitzvah?
My favorite mitzvah is lighting
that how I'm
Shabbos.
supposed to ask?
Lighting Shabbos
Okay.
candles. And I actually, so in my book, this was very important to me. So in here, I have a picture of me, my mother, and my sister lighting Shabbos candles. And this was featured on these candle lighting pamphlets that Lubavitch used to put out many, many years ago when the Rebbe instituted this when, you go out on Mevtzayim, to give out these pamphlets that say like the times to light in like the most popular cities in the world. And then also the bracha and, exactly what you say. And you used to go out and give candlesticks and the pamphlet. So we were on 2 different pamphlets. And then I actually recreated it with my daughters. And to me, this book is all about the power of the Jewish woman. And
You're just flipping through and the colors and everything that are like,
Very vibrant.
Very,
Oh
very
my
proud of the
gosh.
photography in here.
they're so
You
beautiful.
take all the pictures
I
also?
do. Yes.
Wow.
It's
Yes.
unreal.
Is that common in the...
It's not at all
No,
common.
Okay.
not at all.
So then look how beautiful this is.
That's so nice.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that special?
That's really nice.
So that. So for me, like I'm not, formal prayer never spoke to me. I used to like hate like when I was in high school and they forced you to daven and going to shul and like you don't understand half the words you're saying and like it just feels very forced. Like I said earlier, I am so connected to song. So when I was being shul, like anytime they would sing a song like that, I would sing along and I love that part. But for me, like it's always when I light Shabbos candles that I feel like that's my time that I speak to Hashem, like I really speak to Hashem. And like, like it's my time to like ask for whatever I want and ask for each of my children. And my kids always ask me, like I cry every time. Like, Mommy, why are you crying? Like, because it's like a really, really special time. And I've always felt that. And I watched my mother do that when I was growing up and watched her light Shabbos candles. So to me, it's like such a special moment. And it makes me feel like I'm a proud Jewish woman and this is my mitzvah. And actually, my name is Chana. I'm named after the Lubavitch Rebbe's mother. And he said about his mother that she's the acronym of the 3 mitzvahs of a Jewish woman, which is Chala, Nida, and Adlakas HaNeros. So for me personally, I definitely very much connect to the lighting Shabbos candles. And Chala, obviously my recipe won an award. So love that. Can't say I do it every week though.
Yeah, I was going to send you a picture of like this week. I'm going to be like, I have the challah.
Yes, I can't wait to see.
Nachas.
If it will help, I'll come make it with you. Like I will make it with you if it means that you'll make challah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's such a
Let's
generous
do it.
offer.
Okay.
Oh
Okay.
my
Let's
God.
Okay, well, I hope to include pictures of this in the actual interview. That's really sweet of you.
Yeah.
Okay, before I have one last question, but before I get to the last question, and I know there's a trillion things we didn't bring up because how could we sum up
Right.
everything you've been
Yeah.
through in
In,
like
in
an
like
hour?
an hour.
Yeah.
Geet, is there any last question that you want to bring up?
I have so many, but I feel like we covered a very,
Okay.
a beautiful snapshot
Thank you.
you're an incredible person
Thank you.
and you're a resilient person and you have like shared so much with the world. Like you have really contributed so much to our nation, to the outside world. And yeah, we're out. I mean, I think women all over and men also are so thankful for your contribution.
Yeah, thank you.
That's really sweet.
It's always cute when the men come over to thank me.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and we know men who are excellent cooks who are very, very into the kitchen and they know you and
No, but usually they're thanking me because I taught their wife how to cook.
Right.
Yeah. They're cooking, but
But like shout
I think
out
the ones who are
to the guys who are
they're
cooking
just too
too.
shy. They you know what I mean?
But
Like
the guys who are cooking, they're like intense about their cooking. They're not just
very,
cooking because they have to feed their families. Like they are like
I think because in our
scientific.
culture you have to be because it's dominant that the woman is like usually the master of the kitchen. So if you're a guy who's passionate about it, you have to be very passionate and like very into it.
Exactly.
But it's
make
pretty,
yourself in that.
A lot of people are doing it now. Like they're finding it more and more.
Yeah,
I know.
That's nice.
I'm getting pressure from Geeta a little.
I do not pressure you.
A little.
I just want Yaakov to kind of know how to.
Fry an egg.
Yes, I want men to be able to feed themselves.
Yeah.
But like not just feed themselves like let me take a bag of chips and
like
order
real
sushi.
food.
But like I really think that it's so important and I my son, he's only 3 years old.
I boiled the water the other night.
Okay.
Come on.
My son is 3 years old and my daughter's 1. I love having them in the kitchen. And he like in the morning, like we make smoothies. He gets to put every single ingredient into that blender. Like I'm Yaakov kind of freaks out a little bit because I let them very close to the fire. But like to me, like it is so important for every human being to know how to cook, to know their way around the kitchen, to know how to feed themselves. Exactly. And to know that it's everybody belongs
When people
to the
tell me that they have a fear of the kitchen, I'm like, there's nothing. First of all, recipes they're just guidelines. They're suggestions. They're helpful suggestions, but like they're there. You should make it your own. I'm not saying you should mess around with baking recipes necessarily. Because like you can't just take out baking powder or yeast, but you know, people use it as an inspiration board and kind of like not everyone has the confidence to do that, but you kind of have to with time you can get that. And also like really my message is really all about bringing the love back in the kitchen because I feel like if you're frum and you live the frum lifestyle and you have a lot of kids, you have a big family, you're cooking Shabbos every week which is literally like making Thanksgiving for the outside world.
Yes.
And so many holidays and never mind all the other excuses, living the frum life. You have this Sheva Brachos, you're hosting that, whatever. It's always around food. Jews love food, right?
Yeah.
I think it's so important to, you know, like if you approach cooking as a chore, which makes sense. I understand that it feels like a chore. Find a way to love it. And for some people, by the way, some people come and they apologize to me and they say they hate the kitchen. I'm like, you know what? I always ask them when they say that, what do you do for a living? And they're like, I'm a shayat machar. I'm like, I don't know how to use a curling iron. And like, just because like, it's not your thing and I get it. And if your husband's okay with it, maybe you buy some takeout and you make very basics or you do freezer to table, whatever it is. It's not for everyone and I get that. But if you don't like completely hate the kitchen, find a way. And for me, and this is always my message, go out of your comfort zone. When I had that experience with the pad thai, like I want people to have that aha moment in their house. Like they tasted flavors they never tasted before and they're like, oh my God, that is so amazing. That is so delicious. You don't even know if you're like growing up eating like Hungarian cuisine, you know, potato kugel and these heavy dishes. You don't even know what certain points on their palate even like it's never been hit. You know, like
I'm trying to think of a food that I've made that you kind of like were like, I never would have imagined that I would have liked this.
Right.
I still can't get them on tofu.
Okay, a lot of people can't. You know, I don't love tofu, but I will work with it sometimes. You'll try the tofu kalbi in here; it's very good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, like, you know, go that is what I say. Like, go outside your comfort zone, pick one unique recipe a week, or you know, and try something new. Buy a new ingredient and just, you know, see and you have fun with it. Have fun.
Totally.
It is fun.
And feed it to your family. Like feed it to your kids.
Yeah.
Like involve the kids. The kids don't
Let
need the
them
kids
be part
menu.
of the experiment.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't
Okay,
need. They don't need to eat from the kids menu. They can.
You
eat
know
from,
what?
you know,
With the kids, and I do have very picky eaters. I love doing like the build your own bowl dinners, whether it's a taco or you're building your own sushi. You know, like where it's like there's all the options on the table.
There's choices.
Also, when you give kids choices, they're in control. And when kids are in control, they're proud of what the choice they made. So they want to try things. They're more likely to try things. So you have like your bowl of rice and your bowl of, you know, flaked salmon and your kani and your nori and your you know, your sweet sauce and then all the different veggies and like let them take what they want. And they're more likely to try new things that way, I think.
It's very clever. It's very clever. Okay, fine. So before I get to the last question, anyone who wants to follow you on Instagram, obviously Busy in Brooklyn, and we'll drop the links there.
It's all Busy.
And the blog, and then obviously we're going to link to both of your books there.
Okay, thank you.
If they don't have yet Totally Kosher, they totally should get it.
Yes. Totally.
And okay, so the last question is there a story that maybe even happened in your life, or maybe a story that you heard in your life that gives you chizuk, gives you strength?
You know, like I don't have a memory for stories. Like I hear one and I'm like, oh my God, that was amazing. I'm going to remember this one, but I never remember them. For me, it's more about like the little like whispers from Hashem or wings from Hashem or whatever you want. These little stories of Hashgacha Pratis. And that I said in here, you know, the story where I was in Prayano, middle of nowhere, that like, for me, that was like Hashem reminding me that like, I'm here, you know, like you don't always see me. You might not even always feel me, but like I see you, you know? So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And
It's such a pleasure.
I've never been so hungry during an interview. I'm just looking at that picture.
That much food though.
Yo, we talked about a lot of food.
We did? I feel like we didn't. Okay.
We could have talked about food for
forever.
For a typical podcast, there's a lot more food talking.
I wanted to talk about food much more, but I kind of like, I remember from the last time we spoke about food and like we didn't get to anything.
And also, you do want to bring inspiration.
Right.
So like I get,
But now we can talk about food.
Yeah, we
okay, we're going to cut the podcast here.
Let's go get lunch.
Let's totally.
Thank you so much, Chanie, for joining us today. And thank you, listeners, for hearing her incredible story and her culinary expertise. If Chanie's journey touched you as much as it did us, please comment the word resilient in the YouTube comments. Chanie's resilience and dedication are truly inspiring. I also want to give a big thank you to my wife, Geeta, for joining us and adding her wonderful insights. I don't think I could have done this interview without her. A special thanks to our 4 sponsors, Culinary for keeping us looking sharp and comfortable, brimming for providing the best software solutions, the OU's Nach Yomi program for those wanting to deepen their Torah learning, and of course Feldheim, where you can use the code INSPIRED to get $20 off the amazing book, Toras Imecha. Everyone listening, please share this powerful story. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. And remember, keep your inspiration kosher. Okay, the kosher money people will get that. L'chaim.
Living L'chaim.